Welcome to the Bang the Drum podcast draft recap. It's hard to believe it's over, Stevie boy. It comes through fast.
It does.
Fast. Actually, it takes a while to get there, but pretty exciting time for Bengals fans. A lot of drama. We'll get into all that. Drama not in Cincinnati, of course, but pretty interesting night. Here we are with our BTD shirts. We'll have some for our listeners at some point. Bang the drum, show your rear end. Everybody bang the drum on the back. Got some other stuff in the works. Thanks for joining us today. We had a good time doing the live draft.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we had good many listeners, a lot of questions. We got questions tonight. A lot to go over today. We're going to talk about round-by-round recap. We're going to talk about the AFC North, the UDFAs. We'll look at some picks we like across the draft, teams, what they did. The NFL draft coverage, which leaves a lot to be desired. Don't get me started. I will get on that. What holes remain with the Bengals, if any? Where are the Bengals now in the AFC? And also, all the questions. We got 5 or 6 people asking questions, like 6 people, various questions. So it's me, Scotty D, and I'm with Stevie Z. Welcome aboard, Stevie Z.
What's up, buddy? It was a good weekend. I was super busy between home and playing music, and I'll watch what coverage I could. Didn't get to watch as much as I wanted because usually I'm on the couch watching every freaking pick, and man, played. I was in bed at 4:45 a.m.
Early bedtime.
Yeah, and that would have been Saturday morning. So went good. Nice place. Big Bulls. It's up in Hamilton. Nice little hall for sure. Really nice. I got sand volleyball. They was actually having a sand volleyball tournament. Yeah, there was. No, right before. Yeah, so had a pretty good crowd starting off. It was fun. Thanks for Big Bulls for having us out.
Yeah, you guys are wondering, Steve's in and out of witness protection.
Yes.
So you can see him going black there. He looks like, when I knew the guy, we just need to. So let's talk about it. So I'm going to get out in front of this. So every single season since 2021, I have not liked the Bengals draft as a whole. Every season. So, the pundits and the blowhards out there that we listen to a little bit, a lot of you guys listen to, we're just talking about locally Bengals. They're always, as we call them, or I call them, I don't know what you in my book here, fanboys. Oh, great pick, great class. And I was going, as you know, didn't like it. 22, 23, 24. This year, the roles have reversed, and we'll talk about it in a second. And I'm on board, Stevie's on board, and I think, as people commented to me, we might be the Lone Rangers on here. So I'll just say this, and I'll say this as humbly as possible. It's a good look for the Bengals that they're finally agreeing with me and not the fanboys. Because if they've been drafting like I wanted to the whole time, guess what? Trophies on the mantle, Stevie. That's cocky, but it's true. So here we go. Let's talk about it first round. I'll let you speak first, and I'll go. Shamar Stewart, your thoughts, and I mocked him there. Won through $300-400 on the bet as well. What are your thoughts on Shamar?
Super athletic. I like the pick. We said it a few weeks back. We thought he was the second best defensive end in the draft. They took him. Upside is next level. Can stop the run. Pressures. 37.5 pressures. Actually, I think it was 39.5 pressures. He gets there, but that's stuff they can work on. That's stuff that technique and slow him down when he starts getting. I mean, he's so fast. When I watch his film, he's a little out of control when he gets to the quarterback. That's just that his motor's unreal. And I mean, hell. Let's say 2-3 years from now, this guy is 8 to 10, 11 sacks. Man, he doesn't have to get 17.5 sacks. He doesn't have to get 3 sacks in one game against Cleveland when you're up 24-0. Yeah, and the pressures mean more to me than the sacks. If it's first and second down and you're getting pressures and you're making a guy dump it or you're making a guy move around the pocket, throw it away. Throw that damn thing in the ground. You see it all the time. Screens go bad. You don't suspect that guy to come off the edge that fast. This guy is unbelievably quick, unbelievably fast, and I think he's a next level player. And I'm glad he's a Cincinnati Bengal.
I'm stoked about it, as you know. Said it all the way through. Did 2 mock drafts with him in it. That's who I wanted, and I thought there's a chance they would take it. The fanboys again wanted defensive tackle. They wanted to take their 5th and 6th defensive tackle so they could all compete for meaningless playing time there. I got through that.
10 snaps a game.
My thing with him, and you said it, and this is, I'm not knocking Murphy aside or even Trey. Most guys are not coming in that fast.
Oh.
So being out of control like he is, they don't have to worry about it, right?
No.
The normal human player in the NFL at that position can't do what he does.
Oh.
Myles Garrett is it's not because they played the same place. They're built the same, they move the same, and he's not as technically sound as Garrett is. He's maybe not as strong, but maybe he is.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
He is. He's a monster.
Garrett doesn't come in that wild. He beats guys so fast. And you see it. You go back and, again, watch the film. A lot of the times he's coming from the right defensive end spot, and the quarterback immediately is going around the left, and there's nobody there. That's coaching. Like if you had a Hubbard or somebody like that sitting on the edge, it is a sack.
Well, guess what now? You got somebody on the opposite side that's going to be rushing the passer too.
Those two in the same time with Trey and him, yeah. Like he gets there so quick, and then you watch him against the run game. I don't know how I missed it. I watched a lot of Chris Sims leading up to this. I think, for my money, outside of myself, I'm joking. I thought he did the best job of anybody this year, for sure. Not even close. But I missed the Shamar Stewart take by him until after they picked him. Then you go back and watch videos. He said a lot of the same things that I wrote about when we talked about it. A little different. He showed some other stuff, but he's talking about the run game, and he just hit. He destroys plays. Destroys them. He gets inside somebody, they're gone.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't always making the tackles. The running back had to go somewhere else.
Right. And that stuff that's not a stat.
Box score stat.
Yeah.
And that's where, Belichick, I always talk about him, but he said sacks are the most overrated stat. You get the guys that are running all the way up the field. He doesn't do that. He doesn't have to.
No.
He's got some work to do on his, his moves and all that kind of stuff. But
I promise you he's going to be on the field.
He's going to be a player.
They will find a way to get his ass on the field. 100%.
He'll be a player, and I like it. And I think, people are upset about it, and, they're all just essentially box score scouting, right, which I hate. But to me, I think this guy's going to be a stud, all-pro level defensive end at some point. And he's going to create havoc right out of the gate as a rookie. To me, that matters. So we move on to the second round. A lot of consternation about this as well. Demetrius Knight Jr. Out of South Carolina. I don't know how many of you had time to watch that team this year, but that was a really good defense. At times, a very good defense.
Top 12 in the nation.
They were good.
Top 12 in the
nation.
nation.
He's a big part of that. Their defensive line was tough, but they played a lot of. They started out a little slow and got on a run there, but he was a big part of that. So, what are your thoughts on that linebacker? And I'll give mine.
Love the pick, just not where they got it. So that we may differ there, may not. I don't know. We haven't really discussed it a ton. They probably could have traded down and got the same guy and added a pick, and then I would have been happy with it. And then they would have had 7 picks. They could have got a late defensive tackle, a late safety, something to fill a need at least for depth. They didn't do that. I don't know why they struggle with knowing what the rest of the league is thinking. And this is years and years, Carmen, Sample, it goes on and on and on of players that they draft too early because they're scared to death that the rest of the league thinks the same thing. And for the most part, they view players different.
They do. Most teams do.
Yeah, and they view them really different. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. I love the draft, and it's kind of a two-edged sword because Knight he's 25 years old, super mature. He's going to come in super physical. He can cover. He's athletic. He's big, strong. He's so violent. They kept saying that in the press conference. He's so violent. And I went back because I'd watched a little bit. I mean, these are a lot of players, right? 200 some whatever. So it's like I went back and I watched mainly his highlights, and I'm just like, holy crap! I mean, this guy's killing people. Like he's hitting them hard. Like he didn't even care about his body, kind of stuff, right? And his character's next level. You know, family, 2 kids, work, did freaking deliver food and Uber and all. I mean, it was unreal what this kid's done. So, well, I say kid, he's 25 years old. I think he'll be 25 in June. I think
he's not there yet.
Yeah,
he will be for the season.
Yeah, he will be here for the season. So, I mean, when it all comes down, when you look at the whole draft in general from what they've done, I'm not looking at it first second. I'm just looking in the whole complex of the draft. I think what they've done, it's good. It's good.
Yep, I think he's a heck of a football player. You know, when they did the 2 picks, second, third, and we'll get to third, I thought it was a regional vote. And at the end of the day, you look at this a year from now, 2 years from now, does that matter? Probably not.
It may not. May not at all.
Because teams are never evaluated, and internally, I don't know what they do. But they don't evaluate it. You know, somebody looks back and they do 4 years from now, look what the quote-unquote draft grade is. They don't look at necessarily who they could have taken. We're talking about this. You want to keep your job, draft a guard, draft a center, somebody like that's going to be around forever. And then you look like you're good, but it's who could you have taken, right? Where they were at there, I just think, like you said, like, you know, the other scenario is, you know, could they have taken Ratledge there and then got a safety in the third, you know, Watts or Winston? Yeah, they probably could have. And then, you know, they took Rivers, who we'll talk about, over Gatson, who I liked a lot. So you took 2 linebackers, but at the end of the day, these guys, and we'll get into the rest of them, are they better right now? We're not going to look at the 4th round pick. Are they better at linebacker with him? The answer is yes.
Yes.
And I think he's a starter, and he's a bona fide 2nd round pick. Could they got him later? No doubt in my mind. We talked about how there was, you know, how long it was till another linebacker was picked. The Bengals don't operate that way.
No.
And they're not going to.
No.
So you look, teams like Detroit, you know, I think, you know, what Atlanta, I'll talk about them a little bit. They gave up a lot to get up and get Pierce, and we'll talk about that. The Bengals are never going to do that, and they're not going to drop back. Teams knew who they wanted. We can get in 10 players later, and they trade down right before the Bengals.
Yep.
2 picks. So you can't say they couldn't have done it. They could have done it.
They could have. And I guarantee you they got phone calls. Guarantee it.
And they probably still get phone calls, even though they're probably the most difficult team to work with, right? Because they don't do anything.
Yep.
They're so conservative. And we've talked about that. You and I, one-on-one, and, you know, I've written about it. You know, we've talked about it since we've been doing this in a short time. They're very conservative. And they're going to continue to be conservative.
For as long as we're alive.
Yeah.
Because the family owns the team, so this is the way it's going to be.
In every way, shape, or form, you know, the T and Chase contracts are not, but just how they operate day to day, every day. And at the end of the day, if you're doing it the right way, that, you know, sometimes that can work, right?
Yeah.
The problem is the teams you're competing against, whether it be, you know, Kansas City, Buffalo, you know, certainly Philadelphia, those teams are so aggressive in the draft, at the trade deadline, and in free agency. They'll take risks to make their team a little bit better. Now you're just that little bit behind sometimes, and that's tough. But regardless, this kid can play. He can run. He's going to chase a lot. He's going to chase quarterbacks. He's going to make hits. You know, the thing that's surprising a little bit, given that was their strategy that Pratt wasn't trading, even if it was like a 5th or 6th, 7th round pick, it's kind of, I mean, something's going to happen there now.
Right.
With 2 linebackers.
Kind of tells you what the rest of the league thinks about Pratt also.
Like, everybody will say, well, we should have traded. Just like with Trey. You're not going to give him away. Why would you?
Why would you? Yeah.
And, you know, there's got to be an offer. How this draft, I'll get to this. I'll get to that. I'll hold off. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, in the 3rd round, you know, they took the guard from Georgia. I'll speak first this time. We talked about him a little bit. You know, everybody was on Tate, right? And I get it. I think Tate's probably a little bit better player than him. But Dylan, I like to say Dylan Fairchild because he's got that name. What's the guy for the Reds? Fairchild? Stewart?
Right. He got traded.
Yeah, what was his name? Stuart Fairchild III. So he's like perfect Thurston Howell, Gilligan's Island. Stuart Fairchild, the big bat. But the thing I like about him outside of football, this guy's a wrestler. His resume was good enough at Sanderson or whatever his name is at Penn State. If you follow wrestling, you know, Bo Nickel's fighting in UFC this Saturday. Bo Nickel is a high-level wrestler. He competed there. They won, I don't know how many national championships. 7 or 8 now, I think.
Yeah.
This guy's unbelievable. Ohio State looked like they were going to peek in there with Tom Bryan. This guy came along. This guy was offered to wrestle at Penn State. And he was undefeated, I think. I mean, the hand.
Yeah, he won state.
The body placement of a wrestler.
Yeah.
The usual weakness is if they don't carry enough weight. He's big enough. He's a grinder. He's a little bit dirty if you watch some of the tape, which I like. Again, the flip side here we haven't talked about. You could argue this, and I would acquiesce to. Are they drafting for need and not looking at other players? The answer is yes. They can lie all they want to. They took a linebacker, 2 linebackers, and a guard. Why? Because they didn't address it in the offseason. That's a different discussion.
100%.
That's a different discussion.
That's different.
They deserve all the criticism.
We've already talked about that and bitched about it.
They deserve it. They deserve any criticism they get from that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the players they took to fill those positions are good. He's a championship level player at Georgia. Started 2 years. I think he's going to come in. To be fair, we talked about this too. To be better than Volson, that's not saying much, but it's a clear upgrade.
Yes.
Week 1, going forward, as long as he's healthy. So I'm okay with the pick, but again, I thought they could have got him a little later. But semantics, your thoughts?
Yeah, probably. That's probably the best that he probably could have done, honestly, you know what I mean? Like, as far as peak of where he was drafted. Good. I mean, good for him. This kid, he's very likable. Well, all these guys are, just listening to him.
They put, not to interrupt you here.
No, it's fine.
They put a lot of credence in that.
They did. They did.
Used to they did. And I'm okay with it.
They didn't. And they didn't last year, and look what happened.
Yeah, it can backfire.
Yeah.
So you want to get, they've got captains. They put a lot of, and
just about every one of them was a captain.
Summarize this at the end of the draft, how this looks to me, but they're going for leaders. And, we're going to talk about Shador, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it also matters, like, people that have to work with him every single day. Think about that.
Yep.
Think about your job, my job.
Yep.
And you're dealing with a diva every day. Sometimes that people just don't want to be part of that.
Nope.
And these guys aren't that.
No.
Far from.
No. So yeah, Fairchild is probably one of the best 2 or 3 pass blocking guards in the whole draft. Just plain and simple. Again, I'm not a big PFF, but it's something you can look at. He was a 95 point whatever last year. And even if some idiot was looking at it and go, okay, he's an 80. Well, even that, because a lot of their metrics as far as what they use for like guards and tackles, like if you're a 77 to 82, 83, that's good. He was a 95. Like, he can pass block. Now, we'll see how good he can run block. Doesn't even freaking matter. I don't even know if it even matters. It does. They need to protect Joe. This guy can protect Joe. And,
major up there.
Huge, competition that he went against. Think about what he went against at practice and on the field at game day. This guy, it was metal sharpened metal, right? This guy did everything that he could do, and 2-year starter, like big time program. I like to pick again, probably a little bit of a reach, but at the end of the day, now that we look back and look at it, it's like, doesn't matter, whether they got him, because basically, like I said, what they got was a 1st round pick and 2 3rd-round picks is what they got, in my opinion. Probably a late 3rd is where Fairchild should have been, and 9 should have been middle to upper. Maybe. But
starters out of the gate, regardless.
Yeah, hell, maybe even 3 starters, maybe 4. Hell, if they go 3 linebackers, if they go 4-3, they might have Carter and Knight on the field at the same time with Logan. So
my thoughts on the guard position has always been this, and people disagree with me out of the gate, and I, certainly way before we were doing a podcast, but when I was talking about Volson, everybody was singing his praises, right? Because that's what fans do and fanboys do. I don't like guards, and you could prove me wrong with other examples, I get it, but the exception makes the rule. I don't like 6'6" guards. They can't get low.
Yeah.
And they're going against this powerful, compact, not fast around the edge beast that just go up the middle and drive them, right?
Yeah.
Think of Olsen.
Yeah.
The guy gets underneath them and what happens? It's a joke.
Can't get low.
It's a joke. He can't get low. This guy's squatty, by their standards, squatty, thick, shoulder to shoulder.
Knows how he uses his hands. Knows how he uses his lower body. He can dig in. Like, he can take those bull rushes. Joe needs a pocket. I'm telling you right now, if Joe gets a pocket, MVP.
Absolutely. And, Volson's built like a tackle. That's a tackle's
Yeah.
body. He's just not quick enough on the outside.
Yeah.
So you can't win either way. And and to be fair here, it's not. I hear people bashing Bolson, and on the field he deserves it. That doesn't mean he's not trying. Doesn't mean he's not working his ass off all year. He just doesn't have it.
Right.
I'm sure he's putting in the work.
Yeah.
His work ethic was good coming out as well. The reputation that all matters.
And with that being said, it's very important. Playoff games, all kinds of starts. I mean, this guy's got 20-some starts already in the NFL. He is going to be a reliable backup if you need him in a pinch. He's going to know the offense. He's going to know what's going on. I mean, it depth and the guys that they drafted. We'll get into some of the free agents that they picked up here, but they just made herself better, in my opinion. They're better today than what they was 4 days ago.
Yep, that matters. Smoking a Perdomo, forgot to go on there, got a little rant there. Since he got the big cans today, buddy.
Yep.
You drinking your normal Miller High Life over there?
Living the high life, baby.
Smoking your candy ass pink vape. That's why I brought it.
You said it.
Candy ass pink vape. So Barrett Carter out of Clemson. We talked about, how do you get steals? I'm not certain he's that big of a steal, but he's a good football player. But he's undersized, right? But he's squatty.
6 foot 230.
Yeah. He's not weight wise. He just is height.
Yeah, he's just height.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Pass coverage you could, but he's a beast. Played well, big games against Clemson. They're not the powerhouse they used to be. Still, they're a good team. I think he's a good linebacker too. I'm gonna say it right here. You said it a little bit before. Last week or whatever. There's a reason, sir. And that reason is Logan Wilson has been banged up a whole lot. This isn't just about Pratt.
No.
They don't believe in Logan right now with all the injuries. They don't trust him, and rightfully so.
Yep.
So now you got 2 linebackers in there. This is not just a depth thing. So who knows what happens there? But you got 2 young, vibrant. I thought Logan looked a little slow, quite honestly, this past year. A little late getting there. He was hurt.
He was.
So now you got some guys that can fill, the run game. Everybody bashed the defensive line to a degree, rightfully so. But the linebackers did not play. Call what you will. They did not.
So I'm gonna do a little bit of a hot take. Okay. So
You ever something hot, Stevie boy? Hot it up.
Joe Batchy's still out there, and Al Golden loves him.
Joe.
So I'm just saying, for depth, from who they have already got on the team, I think, and I'll tell you what, he stepped in a couple years, not so much last year, but a couple years ago, played pretty good freaking football for them.
And you got the other kid. What's his name? From Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Smart kid.
smart kid, undersized,
Doesn't
but
look like it, but
yeah.
preseason game, we saw him in camps.
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
Yeah. So
now
I'm
you
gonna
got
give it a
some depth there. Now you got some depth there. So things look a little bit different there. Steve Boy's prepared, as you can see. You drank 2 already? Yeah. Yeah, boy. Well, I tell you what. Let me ask you this, Steve. While you're off the air here. Holy shit, I'm out. Drink some real beer for a change. Let me ask you this. Yeah. If beer extended life,
250 years old.
how old would you live?
250 years old.
250. That's pretty good. That's going to go something like that. That makes sense. So 5th round, you get down, like we've talked about this before. I talked to my cousin about this, Justin. They love putting value. This is not a Bengals bash. This is everybody. There's 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. Oh, we can't trade them up. We'll do this. We'll do that, right? And the vast majority of the time, guys only make it. I'll watch you. So that's why I've said to you many times, if you want a player in the 4th round, early 5th or whatever, you trade him and go get his ass because those late round picks don't matter. And I'll argue this until I'm no longer here. You can get UDFAs that are just as good. And there's UDFAs this year that I'm sitting there, like I've said to you before, like when Sanborn didn't get drafted, Pace didn't get drafted. They were on my list. I'm like, these guys are way better. And every team does it. They like taking a flyer on some guy from Northeast Missouri, Atlantic State University Junior College that's in his 12th year.
Yep. You got Wisconsin and Notre Dame and Michigan, Ohio State guys that
They
are.
can play.
Yeah.
And, Ohio State didn't have a couple guys drafted. And you look at these guys, and I know I'm always confident that these guys are better than some of the guys that get drafted and they end up making rosters. So it doesn't make any sense to me, but that's the NFL. I'm not trying to pull a Mel Kiper here because I'll bash him in a second. But they go with Jalen Rivers in the 5th, offensive tackle. At that point, it's hard. There's not a whole lot on the board. You know who I wanted. I wanted to touchdown Tommy, who got picked in the 6th round. Tommy a lot. Thought he was a better risk there. But Rivers might be on this team 5 years from now. As a swing tackle, he could do it. He's got all the measurements. He's a little step slow. But his measurements are great for a tackle.
Oh, yeah.
They can develop. He played high-level football, too. He played Cam Ward, right? That's a little – we talk about the sacks giving up. You really want to look at pressures because Cam Ward's running all over the place. Of course, he gives up sack, but he's running out of sacks, too, right? He's a good athlete. So we'll see. I think, he's going to be on the roster. What are your thoughts on that guy?
Yep. He's going to be on the roster, like you said. Great length, good size. Play both positions. He actually played left tackle and left guard multiple games. You know what I mean? So it's not like he played one. No, he played them both in the same game. So, I mean, the guy. So, for one, when you play guard, it just isn't. You're not on an island. You're as a guard, you have to know protections. You have to know. So for him to just be able to go from tackle to guard and basically say, hey, next series you're in guard, and him be prepared to do it. So that kind of tells you they want smart, and they want guys who love football,
versatile,
and guys that are versatile. And really, so far, everybody that we've mentioned qualifies for all that.
Absolutely. And the last pick, we both liked this guy from where they were at, right? The Virginia Tech running back whose name escapes me, I think that guy's going to be a fucking stud. I really do. I'll say an F word in there because that's how good I think that guy's going to be. And honestly, the kid from Tennessee, the Browns got, is going to be a good one too, unfortunately. But Tyus Brooks, he got a lot of wear, a lot of tread taken off the tires at Texas Tech. So Texas Tech, for those of you that don't know, went from Kingsbury with Mahomes, Mike Leach was there, air raid. All he did was just throw the ball over to super conservative team, physical.
Yep.
Hold the ball, and this guy was part of it. He's a damn good running back.
Damn good running back.
Bring some thump to him. He's got some thump.
Yeah, he's not real tall. I think he's 5'10", 5'11", but he's over 200 pounds. Runs hard. 27 touchdowns, 1,500 yards the last 2 years. Super productive. But guess what? Guess who else was a workhorse? The Bengals starting running back. This kid ran the ball at Illinois like you wouldn't believe.
You got that right.
So who gives a shit? Just give him the football and let him run. Because I'm telling you right now that if Chase goes down, he's your number 2.
Yeah.
He's going to get the ball, and he can freaking do it.
Yeah, Dylan Sampson went to the Browns in the 4th round. I think he's going to be a stud. But I should tune it out and talking about that second pick in the 4th round to Jacksonville. I really like that guy, and of course, Scatterby, right? But he went to a play. He went, 3rd pick in the 4th round. You can't take everyone. No, you can't take everybody. You want to bash him. There's only so many guys there you can take that realistically.
Yeah.
Scatterby, I wouldn't trade up for him. Eddie Hand might be a good one too, but that's kind of where they went. So we've got some questions follow up on that. We'll look at the UDF. Let's look at the UDFAs first.
Okay.
And quite frankly, what I begged for, I was like, please, and I wanted to take him because I think the fact that this guy didn't get drafted is mind-blowing to me. I don't care if he tore his fucking brain.
And honestly, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. He might be the best.
He's the best center in the draft.
Yes. And they got him and granted injury, blah, blah, blah. The fact that they got him and he's on the team on top, because basically they didn't have a 7th round pick, right? Yep. Well, really what you do is say, okay, if he's a 4th or 5th, so those 4th or 5th or 6th round picks, just move them down. You see what I'm saying? So that 5th round pick becomes a 6th round pick. The 6th round pick becomes a 7th round pick if you think he's good enough to have been a 4th or a 5th. Yep. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean,
I said it on our last 3 episodes, draft and stash.
Yeah.
That's how good he is. I'm telling you, Seth McLaughlin, too, we're talking about, from Ohio State.
Yes.
He's the best center in this draft. Hands down. I get the injury. You're going to have to wait.
Sure.
But you look at Simmons tore his ACL. Tennessee, how's he doing?
Yeah.
He tore his Achilles. He's not the most overpowering guy anyway, but fundamentally, that dude was awesome in Alabama.
Smart.
He was their best. Hear me out here. He was the best offensive lineman on the Ohio State team this year when he was healthy. Better than Donovan Jackson. Better than left tackle. He was their best offensive lineman. The guy was dominant, and he got hurt.
Yeah.
Right? That's just, they got unbelievably lucky.
Yeah, they
noticed them reaching out for him, man.
And it helped that they didn't have a 7th round pick, so they could go ahead and start negotiating because they wouldn't worry about that. They negotiated, they got the deal done, and I mean, Great.
And
Great.
you know, we tend to watch. You know, around here, you're going to watch a lot of Midwestern football, whether that's Big Ten, Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
This is for Carpenter, of course, and some other folks. But for those of you that are close to my age, Howard Cross's dad, I drafted him many times in fantasy football. Let me tell you, when he played for the New York Giants,
I remember him.
he's a good player, a really good player. So when we talk about values, either injury, off the field stuff, or size, he lacks a little bit of size. You know what he plays? Good football on Notre Dame.
He does.
He's got a shot at making the roster.
He does. And I think it was a high ankle sprain. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like it was a knee. Like
a little undersized.
He is. But hey, I mean, he might be able to put on a few pounds. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I like him, and he's definitely going to help the Cincinnati Bengals.
You get guys on YouTube and everywhere else talking about, this guy, and what's his name, Emory
Jones.
I kind of like him actually.
I do
he does a good job. But he's going through his list of top 10. Those guys aren't on, I think. But this guy's going to help this team. The vast majority of the time, these guys aren't making a roster. Those two guys, McLaughlin's going to make. He's going to be on injury reserve
For sure.
But at some point, he's going to play. I guarantee.
Yeah.
They love Matt Lee.
Yeah, he's better.
And you look at the tight end. Excuse me, got a little choked on some smoke there. Act like you. West Virginia tight end Cole Taylor, who they quote unquote preferred. I don't know how they know that. You look at it, he didn't have the numbers, but their pass offense was so erratic. If you watch him with the ball in his hands, he looked pretty darn good. I watched the West Virginia games. Quite frankly, lost some money on him. That's why I watched him. It's a big one. So those are the guys that stand out to me. Anybody you see on the list you like?
More receiver from Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Dude's got great hands. Doesn't separate, again, I mean, there's a lot of freaking players in this draft. So didn't get to watch a bunch, but I went back and watched his highlights. And of course, these are highlights. So you're only going to see good plays. You're not going to see, how he's getting blanketed down the field on 3rd and 10, shit like that. But I seen him make, I know on the highlights, at least 7 one-handed catches. And he made one, don't remember the opponent, but it was left-handed in traffic, one-handed. His size, he's not real big, but he can jump. Why not? Why not?
And you look at some other positions they took there. They're receiving, they still lack some depth there, which we'll get into. But we're going to compile some, instead of being redundant and going over the questions, at the end of the show like we often do. So Landon asked what the best pick by the Bengals is, and to me it's Shamar Stewart. I just think you get to me, I think Abdul Carter's better than him, but I think he could in time be better than Abdul Carter. I really do. I believe that. We'll see. I'm going out on a limb. That's what I've done in the past. It's the big name guys, and I hit most of those guys I could jump out on a limb on. I will jump on that limb. He's the best pick, and I think he's got a shot at being super high-end defensive end.
So can I give 2?
Sure.
So I think right away, Fairchild is going to be the one who impacts immediately, but over time, I think Stewart's going to be a Pro Bowler. I think he's too talented. His motor's just too high. This kid, my God. To be that size and be that athletic, we both said it. I see what they seen in him.
Yep.
And a lot of these so-called experts, they just want to keep bashing the production. He was on Mo the other day on 1530 and pretty much said, yeah, I've got to get better at wrapping people up. He said, but I did have 39.5 pressures.
Yeah, comes in wild, like we talked about.
You know what I mean?
He's everywhere.
And he knows what he needs. He's not going to come in and be like, no, I'm perfect. He understands. He's mature enough to know what he needs to work on. And I guarantee it, this kid's going to work on it. Actually, all these kids are going to work on all their issues.
High character guy.
Yes.
He thought, I guess I heard that he thought he was going to San Francisco 12, which kind of kicked him off, I think. I don't know what they told him. So
all these guys are going to have a chip because they're going to say it because they all think they should go number 1, right?
I guess they told him something, right? But I thought he wasn't going to be there in a lot of ways. But here's the lessons learned from the draft before we get into the North. And I'll talk about the coverage, which is a whole different discussion. But the draft itself, what happens is you come into it and all these people have, well, I don't believe it, you don't believe it, but a lot of people think, oh, this is how the draft's going to go. I'm like, no, it won't. And, you think that I wouldn't trade Trey. But if you could have got 2 second-round picks right there, some team had 2 for Trey, the way the draft fell,
You
talking
could,
to Jerry about it, like, because good players get pushed down with stupid reaches.
Yep.
Whether it be Dart or the Louisville quarterback, which we'll get to, they get pushed down, and all of a sudden, teams do shit that you wouldn't think they would do.
Look where Will Johnson went.
Yeah. There's an injury there, but
Still.
yeah. He's going to be a pretty good player, I would think.
Yeah.
And it happens every year.
Every year.
And you look back at him, and, you look at every war room. This is not draft coverage, which I'll talk about. You look at every war room, everybody's high-fiving. Everybody's happy. They're all glowing, except Barry when they drafted Shedeur, I think. But you get into all that, and they probably mean it to a degree. They know the cameras are on.
Oh, sure.
Right? But there's people in that room that disagree with whatever the pick is.
Yep.
Maybe a high percentage of people.
Yep.
And the vast majority of these picks, you look back 3 years from now, they're going to be bad picks. First round or any other round, right?
Yep.
So that's why, I hear people say, oh, you can't bash him. You got to see what it's going to look like. Yeah, you can bash him. If you do the research, which I do, you do. And I don't, I put a lot into it this year, and I came into it questioning myself a little bit. It's like, what do they call that? Pat yourself on the back with a backhanded compliment to myself, which is kind of weird.
Self-evaluation.
Yeah. So I came into it, I was like, man, I'm a little rusty on this. I'm kind of interested to see how this goes. But, 2018 and 19, I would have stood up in front of anybody and took anybody on in the NFL. Honestly, call it what you will, call it cock.
Yeah.
And I wrote it down, and I feel like I can compete against anybody. Now that it's over, I still think I can compete against anybody. Because they look at shit that I don't look at. And maybe if I was in their shoes, to be fair, I would look at it, right? I would listen to what other teams say. I would listen to a Jeremiah, because they pick those guys' brains too, or Sam.
Well, sure.
Whoever.
Yeah.
They're listening to all these thousands of voices. My only voice I hear is me.
Yeah.
In this. And I think it helps me, because I just look at football. And the other side of it is they're interviewing these guys, and they might hear a lot of stupid stuff, which would make you take a guy down. Or they fall for this, too. Baker Mayfield's a perfect example. He's a good quarterback now, but he's not
He
better.
wasn't early.
He wasn't better than Saquon and Josh Allen and all those guys.
No.
So they get into that bravado. I'll lead the team. I'll do this, and it sways them.
Yeah.
And again, it's to the point. They're working with him every day. I get what you Jackson say about him. He's the Pied Piper. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. I think I may have told you this. Did I tell you this?
I think so.
Baker. He's going around. True story. He walks in. I'm the only one there. Me and Patrick. He walks in. There's nobody there yet, but security guards and the players walking out. It's him, Josh Allen, whoever else is in that class at Senior Bowl. A few other receivers, maybe a couple coaches. He comes in. He's talking to security guards. They're laughing. He's talking to guys that are armed. They're laughing. Does it mean something? Probably. But to me, it doesn't, because I'm sitting at home. I don't weigh any of that.
Yeah, we don't see that.
So I think it works to our advantage. Right?
I think it does.
It
does. Yeah.
So you might miss some character issues and all that stuff. So now we talk about the AFC North. And we'll get, Chris asked where did the Bengals draft stack up in the North. We'll go through them team by team, and I'll answer that for you, Chris, in my opinion. We'll go Baltimore. They got, Starks fell to him. I don't have him as the top safety, as you know. Is he going to be a good player? He is. My favorite pick by them is Mike Green. They got lucky, but you never know. They may not have got lucky. He might get suspended. There's something's going on.
Something's going on.
Big time. But they don't care. They never did care, right? They don't care about that stuff, and most of the time they benefit from it, quite frankly. The rest of the draft, everybody goes nuts over it. I didn't like it at all. I know everybody thinks, they did a great job. Those top 2 picks might save them anyway.
It might.
But they took my sleeper, which they always do. Cohen from the defensive back from Western Michigan, 6th round, which was my sleeper. They got him. But outside of that, I say ho-hum. Everybody else disagrees with me. I think it's a good draft at all. Top 2 picks, great. Your thoughts?
I thought they had a pretty decent draft. I had mentioned Emory Jones. I think he's going to be okay. Cone, I'm there with you. Then when you have that many picks, I think a lot of people give you, they reach, but they give you good grades because you had so many picks. You have less picks to screw up, right? So I really like Starks. I think he's a really good player.
He fits with their style. Boy.
Hell, who knows? Might grade my name, see the field. We're not really sure. If that's the case,
yeah. But
let's go.
Picks, if he turns out to what he could be, and Starks, the rest of the draft may not even.
It may not even matter. But I think Cone is.
He's gonna be a good player.
He's a good player. So yeah, I thought it. It was good. I'm not gonna say here. I'm gonna give it, and I'm not a grades guy. but we'll do it because everybody else freaking does it, and everybody else probably wants to know what me and Scott give. So we're going to give them today. So for Baltimore, I'm going to give them I'm going to say a B. Yeah, B.
I go B minus just because I like the first two picks so much. But when you talk about you're not a grades guy, true words have never been spoken. Whether it be elementary, junior high, high school, college.
Hey, I was on a beta club.
Did you pay for that or something?
Well, no, it was my senior year. I was on the beta club. I was in the chess club.
There goes the beta club. I was on the chess club too. You want to hear my chess club story?
No, I do not.
They came. We go here anyway. They came to me and said, "Hey, you want to play chess?" I said, "I've never played in my life." You get out of school. I was like, "Teach me." So I did. Got halfway decent.
Sounds really familiar.
It's a really tough game. So we moved to Cleveland. So we're sitting here. You and I weren't on Twitter, thankfully. But the rumors, I didn't know this in hindsight. In hindsight, I didn't know it. The rumors of the Travis Hunter trade were going everywhere. Did you know that? Like hours before the draft. I didn't know that.
I heard weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, they were on
They
Twitter.
they were working. Oh, really? No, we wasn't on, but yeah, this was like weeks in the process of trying to get it straight.
So what always happens in these scenarios, and believe me, I've seen it happen many, 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 many times, and with many, many, many different teams. Team does trade down, fans love it. Fans go ballistic because you have all these draft picks. It's the same thing we just talked about. Most of these draft picks aren't worth it. They go bonkers. The Browns did this once before, traded down, didn't get Julio Jones, got picks everywhere, and picked Phil Taylor.
Yeah.
Does anybody know who Phil Taylor is right now?
No.
Scott. Many, many teams have done this, right? You look back at the Herschel Walker trade, and everybody talks about that. That wasn't a trade down, it was for a player. The vast majority of the time, when you're trading down from up there, it doesn't go.
No.
So, Cleveland, we'll talk about it. Trade down. If Travis Hunter is really, really good, it's going to hurt him in two ways. He's really good, you don't have him. And Jacksonville's going to be good. It's a weak division. You got a new coach in there that's offense. You got Travis Hunter in there with Trevor Lawrence. That pick might be in the 20s next year. There's a good chance it is.
Yeah.
And guess what? If it's Archie Manning or whoever else you want to put up there, they're not going to be able to trade up and get him anyway.
Nope.
So, you know what John Dorsey, I'll throw him out there, used to say, I'm using his name this time. See great player, take great player. See player up there you want, it's a great player, go get him. Patrick Mahomes ring a bell? How'd that trade work out?
Yeah.
Trading down. How'd the pick work out when they could have taken Deshaun Watson the first time when he's there at an all-pro level and they traded down and I don't even remember who they picked. How'd that work out? Good. Case in point.
Case in point.
It's tough because it's not a quarterback, so it is a different evaluation. Would I trade down? Maybe. We talked about it, but I wouldn't have taken Mason Rudolph. Is he a good football player? Yeah. He's like my fourth or fifth defensive tackle. He doesn't disrupt the pocket. He's not going to get, they'll dog Shamar about his sacks. Look at his sacks. Look at his pressures.
Yeah.
He basically wasn't on the field.
A little different interior, but
yeah. He wasn't on the field, but who do you draft the defensive tackle to do now?
Yeah.
Nowadays.
3-tech. Go get the quarterback.
What's Warren say?
Yeah.
And the guys that were picked after him. So I think he's okay. I think he's an okay player. You take an okay player at fifth?
5.
I don't. We'll see. He'll help them against the run. You do have Garrett. The other side, who's pass rusher for him. So Carson Schlesinger, I do like him, unfortunately. I think he's got a shot at being a really good player. Quinshawn Judkins, I really like. I like Fannin Jr. I'd stop right there because I want to save my last here. I'd stop with those first 4 and let you go, and then I'm going to go on.
So we had a little discussion before, so I know where this is going. So it should be fun. And remember, former Cleveland Brown guy over here, so this is nice.
Yeah.
Lou, I know you're listening to this podcast.
That's right.
You know.
I know the thing about me is, someday maybe I'll show it off. I got an unbelievable memory when it comes to sports. Unfortunately, that's it. Maybe that's probably not true. History, too. But I can rattle off every NBA champion from probably 79 or 80 to the 2000s. College basketball, Super Bowl. I don't think we talked about it on here. This is an understatement, thousands of games on tape.
I can't remember our last segment.
I've got thousands of games on tape. So I can go back and prove it. I always thought about that. I'm going to record shit and just prove all these guys wrong, because I'll have it on file. Now you can find it anywhere, right?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff I have you can't find. But anyway, your review of the first 4 picks, and then we'll hit their last 3.
So I'm higher on Graham than what Scott is. I think he's pretty good. Because if you put him in the same line with Garrett, I think it kind of changes the outcome. Yeah, yeah. I love Swester.
Good player.
I love him. Junkins, thumper. I mean, this kid can play. He hits the hole. So strong, good at the goal line, block, pass protect. He's a good player. I love Fan. I think it was either the first or second episode I brought him up. Didn't I had no idea who he was. And again, a lot of freaking players. So I got to watch him. I was like, man, this kid's pretty damn good.
He's been good for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And I like him. After that,
Hold up. We got to get them. You can't talk about them yet.
yeah, after that, I'll stop right there too.
Here we go.
So top 4, yes.
This just tells you everything. For those of you that don't know, there's a guy in Cleveland. His name is Paul DePodesta. And for my money, I'd probably watch what I say here a little bit. He's a snake. That's me watching.
Snake in the grass.
He is a snake in the fucking grass. That guy's been there for 10, 11, 8 years, whatever it is. Continue fail, and the snake's still in there, right? So you can read a few things from this. You got to understand that Andrew Barry probably didn't pull the string on Watson. And if he did, how's he orchestrating a rebuild after he fucked up the rebuild so bad, right?
Yeah.
So that had to be an owner's decision, as Manziel was.
Right.
Had to be.
Right.
So they go and pick, and I heard somebody defend it. Well, it was their 5th pick. I don't care if it was their 18th pick. Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. Stand up if you had that on your bingo card.
Yeah.
That's more. You got a better chance of winning the NCAA tournament bracket. Perfect than you picking Dylan Gabriel.
So,
The guy. Once you prove me wrong, I don't see it. And I'm sure they're like, well, Russell Wilson. He doesn't do anything that Russell Wilson did coming out.
I hope he's the starting quarterback.
That'd be great. And then they make it even more confusing. So Dylan Sampson, I do like him. I think he's a heck of a running back for Tennessee.
Didn't see much of him, not gonna lie.
He's a really good player. He had a lot of touchdowns, but it's weird to take 2 backs, but that will be a good one, too. But if you don't have the quarterback, does anything we just talked about doesn't matter.
Just stack the box.
If you're playing Kenny Pickett, offense or defense, or Flacco now, or these 2 quarterbacks that we're talking about. So Shedeur Sanders. So, and I'm going to couple this in, and I'll get to the draft coverage here in a little bit. We watched, and I watched NFL Network, thankfully. But Shedeur Sanders, right? Here's the old saying with the NFL. I'll jump back out where I could see a little bit better here. So Shedeur Sanders. If Hannibal Lecter, you know who Hannibal Lecter is?
Oh, sure.
If Hannibal Lecter could run a 4.3 40, an NFL team would select him and say he has an eating disorder and we're working with him on it. That's great. And it's true. The NFL, they don't give a fuck who you've hit unless you're going to get suspended by it. They don't care about anything you've done unless what? You're going to get suspended by it. They don't care about the PR. So all the nonsense about Shedeur and all that stuff, no. It's they didn't want to work with him, maybe part of his dad, and they don't think he's that good. And if he was that good, if he could play as well as Caleb Williams, and they thought that, even with all the diva stuff and everything else, guess what? He's a top 5 pick. So I don't think he can.
Nope.
That's it. But Stephen A. Smith thinks it's racism, even though the number 1 pick in the draft is what? Cam Ward act like an idiot when he came out? No.
Nope.
Was he dressed like an idiot? No.
Nope.
Did he hold a good interview? Yes. The teams believe in him because of that? Yes. There's your difference.
Had nothing to do with anything other than he was a good football player.
Yep. And he didn't act like an idiot, which Sanders does, right? Deion's always been good.
Yep.
Deion's one of the most overrated players in my lifetime, even though he was very good. Couldn't tackle me right now with a torn ACL. He couldn't get me to the ground, and
he could have played without a helmet because it wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have mattered. He couldn't cover anybody. He could cover anybody. He couldn't tackle anybody.
Yeah.
So Shedeur, is it worth a flyer for them? I think it is, honestly.
I do too. I do too.
Right there, I don't. The Gabriel pick's kind of confusing, but think about what you could have had right there, player-wise. And again, they screwed it up, right? Because you could have had. So this draft for me, I think it's a C at best, and you really can't complain until you know what that pick is next year.
Right.
Your thoughts?
B-. It's not far from it. I like the top of the draft. I mean, those four picks, and then they get Sanders late, which
He's gonna be good.
I mean, Junkins is just an absolute monster. And then here my co-part here saying I haven't watched any of Sam. I think I may have watched one game.
The problem is the offensive line. So Willis is
which is so
they're
awesome
playing Jones.
because they've been good for so long. I'm so glad they're not now. I love that.
Hartman's Callahan guy.
Yeah.
And now, you got Conklin at right tackle. He's always hurt. You
Always.
got the kid Jones from Ohio State that's not good playing left tackle.
Yep.
Antonio's getting old. They got some questions.
They do.
So it don't matter who they pick.
Yep.
They could have picked offensive lineman. They picked one.
Yep.
Woo. It's a bad look, I think. We'll see, though, right? We'll see. The Pittsburgh Steelers, a team we all love to hate. Again, I didn't think they had that good a draft. I'm not being against them for the sake of being against them. I thought their later picks, I like Harmon. I think he's a solid player. I think, they didn't have that many picks early, so it's really hard. They're catching a lot of grief, but they really didn't have any picks. They didn't have a second-round pick. Derek Harmon's a solid football player. I think he will be a good player for him. Caleb Johnson's a solid running guy. Then they, unfortunately, Jack Sawyer fell to him.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think he's going to be – I don't think he's going to be great. Solid, Black, I didn't like that. Will Howard's – I got to be honest with you. I take Will Howard. We're going to get to that over the Louisville quarterback, over Gabriel. I take Ewers or Howard over those two.
I told you what I thought.
Any day of the week.
I like the kid. I like his makeup. I like everything about him.
He's big.
Unfortunately.
Rare and can't. So did they help their team? Maybe with Harmon, but it's probably going to help them more next year than the year after. I think it's like a C plus B. It's okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm going C plus. Love Howard. I like Harmon, and like you said, it's a damn shame that Sawyer had to go there. But yeah, C plus. I don't want to talk about him no more.
Yeah, Caleb Johnson's a solid back, but he's nowhere near some of the other guys. And then we had a question there. Roddy, smart-ass Roddy, said, "Will you buy Sawyer and Howard Pitt jerseys?" The answer is
no. Well, I may.
Burn it.
Probably worse.
Don't say that. There we go. So the question is, for me, I'll start it, and you can go. Chris asked. Chris got a two-part question. One of them you're going to like, one of them you're not. Where does the Bengals draft stack up in the North? I think it's the best. I'm not a homer. For those of you that you haven't heard me, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm far from a homer. I get Duke and then listen to the other shows.
Yeah.
Hammer on left and right. I thought they had the best draft in the division. I don't even think it's close.
Yeah. No, yep, me too.
Starters, players that could play. I think Shamar's going to be better than anybody in any other teams took.
And the fact that they got McLaughlin at center as a free agent.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's big time. So,
yep.
Second part of Chris's question, I didn't tell you about this one. He wants to know how hard it is for me to carry you every podcast. And I said, damn challenge. Your thoughts?
It's not fair, Chris. So I don't even understand that question. It says, Scott Dryden.
You know.
So here's the deal. So as long as you just let his head stay where it's at, and then you don't let it disrupt and get in both cameras, we're in good shape. So as long, yes, I'm saying that there's a lot
brain matter in there. Unlike you.
I would not say that. I would say shit. There's a lot of shit in there. So
you got anything else you want to turn in there? Chris knows the truth.
Yeah, he knows the truth all right.
Okay, we're going to talk about picks we like for other teams, but first, I'm going to rant a little bit, and then I'm going to be done with it. So NFL Network had Joe Platt, who I like. They had Daniel Jeremiah, who I like. They had Charles Davis, who I like. I like all three a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Eisen I can deal with for the most part. And that setting, he's all right. He's, sometimes a little goofy. So this is not a knock on them, which usually I'm bashing the media. It's not a knock on them. Because if you put those four in there covering the real draft, they would do a hell of a job.
I think so,
The
too.
problem is, here to announce our third-round pick after a trade from Bangladesh Buku from top of Mount Everest. Oh, wait, we got to trade, so we have to wait on these guys to come in. What the fuck? It's turned into a parody of itself. It's a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yep.
I tweeted out, when are you going to bring Jackie Moon in to wrestle a bear off of seminar? I mean, it just doesn't stop. And they're printing money, so it's all getting worse.
Yeah.
It's the NFL. It
ain't going to stop.
ESPN's a joke no matter what.
Yeah.
Those idiots, Stephen A. Smith and all those idiots, and he's not the only one. The NFL Network put some solid guys on there that if they're covering the draft 15 years ago, I would have watched every second and been happy. Finally, I was like, I'm done. Because it's just a joke. Team's pick is in. Next team's pick in. You're 4 picks off because these idiots are wasting all the time. It's just showbiz. Roger Goodell, and it's not just him, he gets us all the grief. And the modern owner are poor stewards of the game.
Yep.
They have crapped on the game, pissed all over the game. They don't care about the history of it. They're turning it into a circus with, your favorite band, you said it's Journey, right? That's say mine is too. I like Radiohead. That's it's Radiohead or Journey, whoever. I don't want to hear them at halftime of a football game. I love them. I'm there to watch a fucking football game.
Yep.
But they can't do it. They got to throw everything else is that way. So you can't turn on, for example, HBO's Inside the NFL is the best football show I've ever watched in my life. The modern Inside the NFL on Showtime's a joke.
It's a joke.
Because it's the McAfee, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless types are everywhere.
I couldn't wait to watch Inside the NFL. And then if I missed it, they showed it like 3 or 4 days in a row. I would make sure that I looked in the guide, found out when it was playing, and then I would make sure that I watched it. It was by far Chris Collinsworth and Lynn Dawson, Nick Bodiconi, and just that they was by far.
You know what? What's weird what they did? They covered football.
Well, sure.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Today, none of them do it.
And they knew what they were talking about.
Buddy of mine was talking about McAfee. Oh, he had this variety show. Case in point.
Yep.
Case in point. They're all idiots.
Yep.
Even hockey, which I love. I had an Oilers shirt on, switched to our Bengals shirt. I had an Edmonton Oilers shirt on. It was unbelievable. But even hockey's still, it's the only sport that's kind of close to where it was at. Baseball's a joke because of the idiot Manfred, right? Ghost Truck.
Yeah.
But you got that biz guy in the studio. Who's he act like? McAfee. So he's doing the same stupid jokes that he does. So all the other 3 guys know what they're talking about. What do you think about that biz? And he's cracking jokes all the time. It's never about the sport.
Yeah.
It's gone.
It's gone.
But it must work. It must be young people love it.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
Or the NFL, they can do anything. I don't think it matters. People are still tuning in.
Yeah.
It's gambling and fantasy football. The live game experience that we go to, there's some critiques, but it's still not that bad.
Right.
Even the high stake game we went to, it's still pretty good.
Pretty good.
But if you're watching on TV,
yeah. Plus, we make it that way too, right? Like when we go, there's still plenty of hoopla and plenty of idiots that are around, but because we are,
we're talking.
Let's say older, that we remember what it was like. So we want that. That's our time to make that experience football. So, and really, even when we sit and we watch it, whether we're in the cave or we're out here, no matter where we're at, I could care less about the broadcast. I could care less about any of that pregame, halftime.
You used to love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brent
Could care less now.
You had Musburger in the studio.
Yeah.
You had Costas. You had Summerall Madden.
Yeah.
You had Kirk Dowdy.
ESPN was always my favorite. Sunday Night Football.
Freaking
Loved it.
It was football.
Yeah.
Harry Callis doing the voice.
Yeah, loved it.
They were all about football. So it's not, oh, you guys are old. When I was 18, I was 15, 14. That's what I wanted to do. I'm still that way. If I turn on a football game, you know what? I used this joke several years ago. Like, come here and listen to Stephen Ambrose, history writer. Come in and listen to seminar. What would you do if he starts talking about gambling? You're paying money to listen to him talk about. It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
But the attention span of a gnat anymore. That's why baseball's rushing the game, and it's like people, they're spending so much money in NFL games and marketing to get people that don't care about football. Well, I'm gonna stop there, gender-wise, to get them in to watch it. That they just piss all over the real fans, but it doesn't matter because we come back anyway.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
But
because we still watch the game and take the game for what it is, right?
Yeah.
We will watch the stuff. Well, mainly what we do is we sit here and bullshit while all that stuff's going on, and we sit here and can't wait till 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's basically what.
Jimmy Johnson, they just kept bringing more people in.
Yep.
Can't have a 3-person studio. It's got to be 7, right? So
yeah.
It's nauseating, but
yeah.
And so following off that, we're going to talk about some of the teams we like. I'll go through mine. I know you got a list. I thought the tough part with Atlanta, and I'll get to them a little bit. I thought, the question is, who asked it here? Mark Carpenter asked, the editor at People's Defender Sports Guy. Overall best draft, meaning who improved themselves the most. Man, I love what Atlanta did. The only thing, the caveat there is they gave a lot to get up to Pierce. You got Jalen Walker and Pierce, one of them that could be very good pass rushers. Xavier Watts, who we both like from Notre Dame. Billy Bowman Jr., who was my steal at safety. The Falcons.
Who do I have on there?
The Falcons did a really good job especially because they knew their offense is so low. They lost Dahlman, which is tough. But the Bears, I thought the Bears did a nice job. Colston Love and Luther Bird. He didn't sit on his laurels. That Trapillo is going to be a good tackle. I like what they did. The Bears, man, they might be the most improved team, period, when you look at free
agency and
I had a
draft.
fan today on a call.
I bet they're freaking ecstatic.
He said they've improved so much. Got a friend, Detroit, John Dorsey, all those guys up there, Tyleek Williams, Tate Radlich, the Tesla guy that I was his sleeper. The rest of the draft a little hit and miss, but those top three are really good. The Raiders, took Genty, that Jack Beck. We both talked about him. He's got a shot at being a really good player. They took my guy, touchdown, Tommy Millett in the 6th round. I want the Bengals thinking, that. I wonder if Brady's in there. Hey, this guy could be like Julian.
Yep.
Which, he's not going to be Julian. Who is? Sadly enough, man, I thought the Dolphins did it. Savane, I didn't like Kenneth Grant in the 1st round. They got Ollie Gordon and Quinn Ewers. They did better later on, I thought. Savane was one of my steal, and he went in the 2nd round. I never dreamed he'd go out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like Kenneth Grant in the 1st, but you look at Miami, though, you think about their mindset. They just get pushed around at the end of the year like they're a flag football team or arena team.
Yeah. They're not physical.
He got picked a little too high, but I get it. I understand the pick. And Quinn Ewers and Ollie Gordon was our steal running back we talked about.
Yep.
And then Quinn Ewers. So they're turning into a more physical team. I think Ewers got a shot at being a good one. And then finally, Seattle, man. Woo, doggy. You got Gray Zabel. I thought maybe a little early, but it doesn't matter. They got Eamon Warren. So you flip those two, like what we talked about. Eamon Warren's the 1st round pick. Zabel's the 2nd. Looks just good. Arroyo. And I think the best steal of the draft, and I'll get to this, Milroe. I think that kid, this could be, I'm not saying it's going to be this. For those of you that are history students of Seattle, I don't remember the year. I meant to look it up. Probably around 12, maybe 2012. You remember Matt Flynn?
Yep.
So he threw for 450 yards, something ridiculous for Green Bay.
Yep.
And Rodgers hurt him.
Yep. I remember that game.
So Seattle jumps all over him, signs him for money, right? But then they draft Russell Wilson. Wilson beats him out. I'm not saying Milroe and Darnold are that, because I think Darnold will play better than that. But Milroe's going to be a player for that.
Yep.
You watch it. And that's kind of my hot takes on the teams.
Number 1 was Falcons. Rest of them I kind of just went through. Like I said, I'm a little bit higher on Baltimore than what Scott is. Bears, Cleveland, Dallas, Raiders, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Tennessee. If you look at Seattle and what Seattle, I thought they reached a little bit for Zabel, but to get Zabel, because really, in my mind, Imawari and Zabel just flip flop. It don't even matter. Like I thought he was. Well, that's why I'm agreeing with you. So yeah. So then Arroyo, Milroe, Horton, Damon Martinez. Yes, sir.
Warriors going to be a star.
Yes. And Martinez is a good back. So love him. Hell, Philadelphia Eagles again. Players fell to them. They took him. They took some gambles. They took my guy. Yeah.
I didn't like the draft outside of him really, but now where they picked him, Jihad, absolutely.
Yeah. So and Seattle. I had Seattle as probably my number 2, honestly.
You gonna buy a Jihad Seattle or a Philly jersey?
No, I ain't gonna be one of them retards. Oh shit! I probably can't say that on film. And I'll edit that. I'm not gonna be one of them guys that wear that jersey to a Bengals game that we see in the stands all the time, and then we go, why is he wearing that to a Bengals game?
Yeah. So on that note, Blake asked biggest steal reach of the draft. I think the biggest steals for me were Milroe, Ewers. I thought the running back from Vitek, who we already mentioned, the biggest reach is Dylan Gabe.
Yeah,
and that's up there with could be the. I just don't understand it. So I think that's kind of mine. You got any offhand?
Not offhand, no.
Nice job.
Yeah, no problem.
Good job, buddy. So Uncle Terry.
Segment.
Uncle Terry's in the house. He was listening and we didn't know it. So we're dogging the heck out of Uncle Terry, and he's there the whole time listening to us. When he finally comes in on the chat, he goes, it kind of sounded like you guys were like maybe dogging me. I said, no.
We would never.
No, and he goes,
we would never.
We weren't dogging you, but
we'd never do such stuff.
Uncle Terry said he gives the Bengals like a C or C minus. What's our grade? And, I think B plus. Terry's hard on.
He's hard on.
You like Shamar?
No. And a lot of people don't.
No, that's okay. Hey, everybody's got the right to be wrong, right?
Come see me in, let's say, I'll say 18 months.
I think before that. I think October. I think he's going to be that big a player out of the gate. We'll see.
Hope so.
We'll see. Let's see. I think that hits up all the questions. So we'll go to now what? So what you look at the Bengals roster. I don't know holes wise. I still think you got a guard problem, and that's my criticism. Where I'll back out the draft and left too many holes in free agency. They didn't do anything. We're not going to get negative there, but that guard position. But if they sign Scherf, now all of a sudden this offseason looks pretty damn good. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to get a little bit of a rant, as you would. Didn't do enough of free agency, put himself in the corner. I thought they did a pretty good job of getting out of that corner and getting the people that they needed to help this football team. If they cut Pratt, dude, they got money. They could go out and get Sheriff. I mean, they could go out and get Simmons, a safety. They could go out and get Sheriff. You got depth of safety. You got a vet. I mean, you've got room now. He can still play. Yeah, and I'm sure he still asks for a little bit. So what? Sign to a 1 year prove it. Bring him in. Let him play. Let him compete. You got depth. If he beats out,
Gino battle product.
yeah.
If you had Simmons and Gino back there, I like.
Okay. Yeah. And then let him go at it. And then you get Sheriff. Then you got all these guys battling for this left guard spot. And then
I think Sherp may play right guard.
He might, yes.
The rookie left.
yes, I mean
Now,
it would
look at the line right there.
be tremendous, man.
Brown, Fairchild, Karras, Scherf, and Mims. That's the best line they've had since Burrow's been here.
For sure.
Hands down.
Probably since
Long Dalton's years, right?
14, 15,
Absolutely.
when they had a pretty damn good offensive line.
They absolutely did. Big time one. So, I think, there's depth concerns at receiver, which we talk about at corner. We'll see, though. I mean, I don't know. There's going to be cut dates, too, right? You
There
get
is.
into June, players are going to get cut. You get in training camp, players get cut that they may want.
I mean, this roster may look a good bit
A
different.
bit different, yeah. And some of these free agents might make it. So, I think they improved themselves.
They did.
And we look at where they're at in the AFC. Like, here's my thoughts on it. This time last year, I thought they could be just as good as anybody in the AFC. Didn't know that the defense is going to take a dumpster dive, right?
Yep.
So if they get Sharp, especially, and maybe even if they don't, I think they're just as good as Kansas City or Buffalo right now. Your thoughts?
Yep. I agree 100%. The divisions, in years past, I just don't think it's where it's at. And it's because of quarterback play. It's just not very good. It's just not very
You
good.
got Lamar and Joe.
I like Lamar, but man, there's just something I always go back to. I just don't think he's gonna be able to get them to where they want. I just don't.
I've said it.
I just leave it at that. I just don't. I think.
the ball good enough
that-
on time. He can't throw the ball on time. Period. It's jump plays.
Yep, rolling out,
Bubble screens. Or if he runs around and gets somebody, which
Yep.
he can do better than anybody.
Yep.
Him and Mahomes both can do it.
I think the Cincinnati Bengals are. I won't say heads and tails better than everybody else, but I think they're the best team right now on paper with Joe Burrow and this Castleton offense of what they can do and how many points they can score. If this defense, I said it a month ago,
That would be great.
they don't beat 22, beat 20,
Yeah.
I mean, just stop somebody freaking once. I mean, I keep going back to the Washington game. My
That
God.
was a joke.
I mean, just
That game was
pathetic.
right there.
Yes, I don't even want to talk about that damn game, but I mean, because that game got away from them. But the Washington game, they were in. You know what I mean? Just get the ball back to the best player on the field, maybe on the planet. Let's be honest, he might be the best football player on the freaking planet.
Part two, right?
Yes. Yeah, and they couldn't do it. So,
You got we're factoring in, and I think it's safe to factor in that Trey's going to be on the team. He's gonna play.
they didn't trade him. He's on the team.
Yeah, he's going to play. They don't owe him anything.
No, it's his fault.
If he walks next year, he walks next year. And
Yep.
you got to hope those other guys develop.
Yep.
But if he comes in and plays,
Remember, there's a draft next year too.
if he plays like he did last year, and Murphy can improve it all, and what we think of Stewart, The 4 defensive tackles will be better. The run stopper will be better.
Yep.
The linebacker play will be better.
It will be better.
Pass rush is better with Golden and those guys. Then all of a sudden, secondary looks a little different. And they don't have to be great, solid. I think they're a better team as a whole right now.
Yes.
And they complement each other a little bit
Yes.
better. They can win it all this year. I'm not being a homer saying I think they can.
I think they can too.
But that guard position is still worrisome, but addressing a little bit in the draft changes a little bit of that.
Well, they went to the Super Bowl with the worst offensive line in team history, and maybe in the history of football.
Canadian football, they got better offensive line.
Yes, and they went to the freaking Super Bowl,
So-
which is why they lost the Super Bowl, but they went to the Super Bowl.
And play also next year too.
Yeah.
Kansas City. It's a competitive game for sure. Should have been overtime. And like my dad says, the upgraded revulsion. I said, I think there's people in the CFL that are upgraded.
Sure.
And that's their management, right? They
Mhm.
don't cut the cord when they should, right?
Mhm.
And so I like what they've done. I'm bullish on them. I love the way that the team's constructed now. I wish they'd have done more in free agency and still do with Scherf and stuff, but the offensive line's solid and the defense is just solid. The rest of the playmakers on the team will help a ton.
Yep.
And can propel them to there. So that's it. That's our post-draft edition. You got anything you want to add?
Ring the bell, like us, Spotify, Apple,
YouTube.
YouTube, iHeartRadio. Go catch us. We're just about everywhere now. And thanks for watching the Bengals Bang the Drum podcast. Remember, all slow traffic, stay to the right.
See you guys.